Spider-Man villains that deserve the proper big screen treatment. Much like how Batman media tends to focus on the Joker, Spider-Man media tends to always focus on classic villains like Green Goblin and Doc Ock, leaving several other characters without a proper big screen treatment. So let's fix that. Kraven the Hunter. Sergei Kravenov, aka Kraven, is a world-renowned famous hunter. While typically known for targeting and collecting wildlife as trophies, he set his sights on Spider-Man in hopes of proving his title as the world's greatest hunter, and also considering him the perfect combination between man and animal. Now that we've finally gotten Mysterio, thanks to Spider-Man Far From Home, Kraven is probably the #1 Spider-Man villain yet to make a movie debut, and the one Spidey fans are probably most excited for. I'd recommend someone like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Luke Evans, or Jason Momoa. Black Cat. Felicia Hardy is a humble cat burglar who often finds herself at odds with Spider-Man, while also aiding him with certain street-level threats. Much like how Catwoman in DC often shifts between antagonist and anti-hero, Black Cat does the same, and is also going to be a major love interest for Spider-Man. Her father was also a cat burglar and petty thief who taught her everything she knows. Now that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is likely college age, there'd still be an age gap between the two, but not nearly as problematic. She's canonically in her 30s, if you're not. I'd recommend someone like Sydney Sweeney, Anya Taylor-Joy, Peyton List, or Olivia Holt. So there could be like a lot of avenues to go to if they incorporate her in the new Spider-Man movies. They could be like on a rooftop of like some skyscraper, the Empire State Building or the Chrysler Building or something, and Tom Holland would be like, if we're going to keep doing this, you need to promise me something. No more robbing, no more stealing. And she says, you act like it's so easy. And then he goes, isn't it though? And then she says, not everyone dresses up in spandex to help people, Spider. And then Tom Holland goes, it's more of a nylon technically. And he says, and then after a beat, he says, so why do you do it? And then this is where it goes to the backstory. My dad taught me. Everything I know, I learned from him. He used to take me on his jobs. Some kids' parents teach them how to swim or ride a bike. My dad taught me how to crack safes and pick locks. He was the best burglar in the whole city until they caught him. I never saw him again after the trial. And then Tom Holland, getting interested, he's like, No. He was stabbed to death by his cellmate. But after that, I was put into foster care, and I got paired up with a bunch of families that didn't fit, so I left. And I've been fending for myself ever since. So that's kind of an interesting avenue and character they could go down with those movies. Moving on. The Rhino. Alexei Sistovich was a member of the Russian mob who underwent top-secret experiments that gave him an artificial skin covering that also gave him superhuman strength. However, his rhino skin has one fatal flaw. He can't make tight turns. So far, Paul Giamatti has been the only one who brought this Spider-Man villain to life in the Andrew Garfield movies. To his credit, I think Giamatti knew exactly what movie he was in and what they were asking of him to do. But when he gets his rhino suit at the very end of the movie, it looks really stupid and clunky. So this is my pitch for... With Tony Stark gone, people have been looting Stark tech left and right, including Tony's own friend/bodyguard, Happy Hogan. And honestly, can't be that far-fetched to think that the Russian mob have gotten their hands on stolen Stark tech and used it to create the Rhino suit. There could also be some really good opportunities for gags. Tom Holland could be like, okay, I'll bite. Did Mr. Stark actually make a Rhino suit, or was that an artistic choice? Or the rhino? That's really what you're going with? No. Just there are other animals that you can use. Sharks, wolves would be a good option. Bears can work too. I've never fought a bear, man. And then rhino frozen for a while and says, in my faux Russian accent, "You mixed the stolen stock tech suit. You decide what animal it based off of." And then Peter getting back was like, "Okay, someone's not one for constructive criticism." Mr. Negative. To the outside world, Martin Lee is a kind philanthropist/humanitarian, the owner and the founder of Feast. However, to the criminal underworld, he is crime boss Mr. Negative. An experiment gone horribly wrong is what gave him his powers. Aside from an enhanced combat, agility, and a healing factor, his negative powers give him the ability to corrupt whomever he touches. He can also imbue weapons with his powers. I've heard through the grapevine that Mr. Negative could be one of the villains in the upcoming Spider-Man Brand New Day, but of course, nothing is known for certain. This character received all sorts of new attention and fans after being one of the main antagonists in Insomniac's Spider-Man PS4. I'd highly recommend someone like Daniel Day Kim or B.D. Wong. Hammerhead. Hammerhead, aka Joseph, surname unknown, is a prominent member of a Manhattan crime family and locally known as the Magia. He has a steel plate in his head. In the context of the MCU, it could easily be vibranium or adamantium that gives him his iconic flat-headed appearance. He can also use it as a battering ram, and he also wears suits laced with Kevlar. Alistair Smythe. As a scientist, Alistair Smythe favors robotics and technology above all else. His father, Spencer, was also a gifted scientist who favored robotics, who also created the first Spider Slayer robots that were specifically designed to hunt down Spider-Man. After his death, Alistair blamed Spidey and has since followed in his footsteps, creating an entire army of Spider Slayers. Outside of video games and a small scene in the Andrew Garfield movies, Smythe still has yet to be given the proper big screen treatment as a villain. The Hobgoblin. Inspired by Norman Osborn's stints as the Green Goblin, Hobgoblin employs a lot of the same tactics, and he has a lot of the same arsenal. Flies around on the hovercraft, pumpkin bombs, cloak, goblin-y look. But while Norman is insane and psychotic, Hobgoblin is sane but cold-blooded. He is only concerned with wanting wealth and power. Throughout Spider-Man history, two people that have donned the mantle of the Hobgoblin stick out: Ned Leeds and Roger Kingsley. Ned Leeds was a former fellow reporter from the Daily Bugle in the comic, and he is already in the Tom Holland movies portrayed by Jacob Batalon. They're probably not going to use him because how many times are we going to get the whole "this guy was once my best friend but now he's trying to kill me" cliche? Roger Kingsley, however, is a popular fashion designer and socialite who has secretly deep ties to the criminal underworld. The Beetle. The Beetle, aka Abner Jenkins, is a mercenary/assassin for hire that uses a highly powered and advanced armored suit to commit his crimes. Struggling with his day job of being a mechanic, Abner turned to a life of crime. That's pretty much all the backstory he has. Stark Tech could be what he uses to make his Beetle suit. The Boomerang. Much like Captain Boomerang from DC Comics, this Boomerang also has all sorts of boomerangs that he uses to commit his crimes. However, unlike his DC counterpart, he also employs jet boots. Frederick Myers was originally from Australia but moved to America when he was very little. He had a really promising career as a baseball player lined up until he was suspended and ousted for accepting bribes on his games. With his Australian heritage and gifted pitching arms, that was all he needed to create an assortment of trick boomerangs and become a super criminal. A much more street-level threat than the others here. The Jackal. Miles Warren was once a former geneticist and professor at Empire State University. He was also deeply infatuated with one of his students, Gwen Stacy. After her infamous death, Warren blames Spider-Man, beginning his descent into villainy. Aside from his shackle-like costume, he has enhanced agility and razor-sharp claws. Sandman. William Baker, aka Flint Marko, was once a small-time crook and burglar until a chemical accident merged his body with sand. This villain was previously brought to life in the Sam Raimi movies by Thomas Hayden Church, but he has not been adapted into another movie since. The Lizard. Kirk Connors was a scientist who was fascinated by reptiles and their ability to regrow missing limbs, and he would wonder if there was a way to incorporate that gene into human DNA so he could regrow his missing arm. Unfortunately, once he tested his formula on himself, it turned him into a giant lizard. He would also soon develop an addiction to the serum that turns him into the lizard. Rhys Ifans previously brought this villain to life in the Andrew Garfield movies, but there wasn't as much focus on him or the Jekyll and Hyde aspects of the character. Chameleon. The Chameleon, aka Dmitry Smirnikov, as the name implies, is a master of disguise. He specializes in using lifelike masks, holographic tech, and a white mask over his actual face. His masks are so well done that they look and feel like actual human skin. He is also such a master of disguise that no one, not even his own family and closest friends, have seen his actual face.